everybody. How are you, my friends? Bonnie here, and we are here for another weekly live stream. It is Wednesday. That means it's Intuitive Eating Wisdom Wednesday. This is the day that I come in live streaming here and drop some intuitive eating wisdom for you. So, I'm going to see if anybody joins me live. If not, this will remain in your news feed so you can watch at any time. But if you are here, I would love it if you just said hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. So for those of you who don't know me, because we've got several new members who have joined us recently, which, by the way, if you saw my post, I'm super excited. We've reached over 800 wonderful women in our group. What does that show us? That shows us that you're not alone. You're not alone in your struggle with food, eating your body, dieting, and there are many of us who want to really work on having a healthy relationship with food. Why? Because life is short, my friends. And if you've spent years, maybe decades dieting, you've likely don't have such a wonderful feeling about food. You love it, you hate it, right? So welcome everybody. I don't really admit everybody into this group. I want to make sure everybody here in this group is working towards the same end goal. That end goal is no more dieting. What I've done is when I've read the questions, the answers to the questions of admission into the group, what I've noticed is that so many of you are sharing with me that you're dieting for more than 20, 30 years. You're dieting, you're struggling with keeping the weight off. Maybe you're able to quote unquote follow the diet when you're a good rule follower, but then unfortunately it's not sustainable for living. And you're cycling through diets over and over again, and it's time for you to say no more. And so what I teach here in this group is, number one, how to recover from dieting and really embrace the intuitive eater that lies from within. So in a nutshell, I help women stop dieting and regain trust in food, gain trust in themselves. So eating is easy, it's enjoyable, and it's nourishing to your body and your mind, because dieting has stripped you of that trust. So if you've been relying on diets and external rules to guide your eating, we're here in this group to help you regain that trust back. And so welcome. Every Wednesday, every week, I do try to have a new theme for you. And just to give you some more information on what is intuitive eating, why the diets haven't worked for you, what could you do, just to give you some aha moments so you can really work towards back towards that trust and being that intuitive eater that you were born with. Today's topic is all about stress. I did post a thread to inquire if you have turned to food in the past to soothe any stress, specifically stress, but of course other emotions that might you might turn to food for. So we're going to be talking about how food is really just food. Food is meant to nourish ourselves. Food is meant for pleasure. But why food does temporarily release some stress that we might be feeling, but ultimately ends up causing us more stress. So that's what we're going to be tapping into today. I did send an email out. If you're not on my email list, you definitely want to be on that list. So if you did provide your email address before entry into this group, you should be on the list to get my Wednesday emails. In that email today, I have a 1-day, 24-hour offer. So if you didn't see it, I want to open it up to you here in the group. And that is for you to schedule a free call with me if you're interested in learning what working with me on a deeper level to become an intuitive eater, to stop dieting, to regain trust in food, what that even looks like. There's different ways that I work with my clients. My main program is called Whole Body Trust. It's an intuitive eating coaching program. But I have other ways that I might be able to work with you as well if you feel that you do want to really achieve your goals at a quicker clip and just get the expert guidance. And so generally I don't offer free calls. There is usually a fee for that call, but for this day only, 24 hours, I'm offering you an option to schedule a free call with me by just raising your hand in the comments below for today. So hopefully you're seeing this replay today, Wednesday, October 4th. we can schedule that call sometime next week. Doesn't matter, but at least if you raise your hand today, you will be able to benefit from that. The call is not for someone who wants free coaching. Nope. This call is for somebody who wants my eyes on their history, their relationship with food, their challenge, so we can figure out what your best next steps are, which may or may not be with my help, but I'm open to that discussion with you. So let's dive into today's topic about food and stress eating. Have you ever wondered why food has such a comforting property to it and how it temporarily relieves stress? Because that's what we're going to be turning to. Actually, before I go further, I do want to address a comment that we had yesterday, I think it was, in the group to the question of, do you use food to deal with stress? And someone did say, you know, hey, we're not reptiles, we have emotions. And I want to absolutely agree with that. We are humans, we have emotions, and sometimes we want to use food to soothe some of those emotions. Now, I never demonize emotional eating, so I just want to say that right out. Because we're human and we have emotions, then sometimes we might turn to food in a moment. Here's where the problem lies. The problem lies when food is the one and only tool you have to dealing with stress and other uncomfortable emotions. That's when it could become very destructive. And that's when we really need to do the work. But if you have a toolbox of strategies on how to manage stress and other emotions, and one of them happens to be food, and you engage with that food in a very mindful, aware manner, then so be it. So that's not what I'm talking about today, okay? So it isn't uncommon to want to turn to food after a stressful day, right? So let's say you have a long day at work or something didn't go as planned and you feel overwhelmed and you feel stressed out. You know, sometimes it can be really easy to reach for that pint of ice cream that's in the freezer to kind of ease some of the stress, right? Even if you're not physically hungry. If that's something you've done before, yes, in the comments, let others know that they're not alone. Now, there are both physiological reasons as to why eating can temporarily relieve stress, as well as psychological reasons, which we're going to be digging into. So let's start with physiological reasons. When you're feeling stressed, what happens? You release a hormone called cortisol. You've all heard of cortisol, right? The main stress hormone. So cortisol is triggering your fight or flight response in the body. It's an instinct for survival. Your body needs energy in order to be able to fight for your life or flee for your life, to face the stressor that it's dealing with. And that's where cortisol comes into play, and this stress response in your body, which raises glucose in your bloodstream, raises your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, all in an effort to help you save your life. So you may feel some hunger from this cortisol. So when you have cortisol flooding your system, it can, in fact, trigger some hunger signals for you as well. And so that would be one of those physiological reasons why eating in the time of stress temporarily, relieves some of that stress that you might be feeling and why that all happens. Now, let's look at the psychological aspect of it. For many, many people, especially long-term dieters, food acts as a way to soothe negative emotions, whether that be stress, whether that be boredom, loneliness, sadness, etc. Like, there's a ton of emotions that might be you might resonate with. Eating is a very common distraction. It's used to escape from reality for a little while, and it can bring comfort in that moment, right? Then, rather than you dealing with any of those unwanted emotions that you might be feeling with. So how many of you can say, yes, I escape with food when I just don't want to deal with the emotions I'm feeling? Again, comment below, hashtag replay if you're on replay, because I want people to know they're not alone. So you may say, I'm having the worst day ever. I can't wait to go home and dig into the cookies I baked yesterday, right? Well, when you turn to food to help numb the stress, it very easily can turn into a binge eating episode, or at the very least, eating past comfortable fullness levels. And guess what happens then? That right there increases your stress levels, increases anxiety, causes guilt, right? And so, in effect, while there might be an initial temporary relief felt when you turn to food from managing the stress, right? You turn to food like that's how I'm going to manage my stress. At the end of the day, that is actually causing more stress and more cortisol to flood your system, because now you're upset, you're frustrated, you're anxious, that you ended up eating for the stress, that you ended up binge eating, etc. If food is a distraction and a way to block out any stresses you may be dealing with, I guess we can end up saying you're probably not eating very intuitively, right? Now, look, food can be a comfort for anyone, but when you've been stuck with a diet mentality for so long, you're more likely to turn to food / overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, right? When feeling some of these negative emotions. Any diet is bringing you restriction. No matter what diet you have tried, there is restriction, because what is a diet? A diet is giving you foods to eat, foods you can't eat, right? There's all these lists. Can have, can't have, good, bad, legal, illegal. I don't care how you name or head up those columns of foods. At the end of the day, there's restriction, okay? Whether it's cutting out the foods, whether it's cutting out major food groups, whether it's really eating low calories or limiting yourself to a certain food X amount of times a day, a week, a month, etc. When you are repeatedly saying to yourself, I can or I cannot have certain foods, what do you think happens? There's going to be an increase in cravings for all of those foods that you are not allowing yourself to eat, okay? And after excessive restriction, then, you've got this stress going on. There's a trigger. What do you think your brain is saying to you? Maybe I'll just have one. That's all. But then you just have one, and that can easily become you eating them all because of that cycle I said before. Now, from a very young age, people are often taught that, hey, food is a reward. Food is something to be earned. Food can solve all your problems, right? And so there's a connection between food and feelings that has developed from a very young age. You may have heard, you can only have dessert if you finish everything on your plate. Or you didn't eat the broccoli, so no ice cream for you today. Or great job on this test. You deserve a chocolate bar. Let's go for a treat, a reward. You may have been rewarded with food. Can you remember that as a child? Maybe not in these examples I've given you, but was food ever used as a reward for you as a child? And if you have children or grandchildren, are you doing the same? Because that sets down certain pathways in the brain to make the connection between food, reward, food and emotions, food and soothing, if you're sad or you're hurt or you're bored or you're stressed. And so even as an adult, there are lots of dieting tips promoted by the diet industry, right? That you've got all of this unhealthy connection between food and feelings that really stay with you unless you work on changing the neural pathways in your brain. So you might hear yourself saying, I ate too many carbs today. Carbs are bad. I am bad. Or no dessert for me. I'm trying to be healthier, which means dessert is unhealthy. You're making a connection, but you crave it, you want it, you desire it, but you're not allowing yourself to have it. And so when food becomes a reward for certain actions, because listen, you're restricting it, right? Because of the diet culture and the messages. And then you decide, I need a reward. A reward is a certain type of emotion as well. Maybe your day was stressed and you're having a pity party of yourself at night or whatever the case might be. You may not even realizing you're choosing food to reward or relax. These are things we really do need to uncover, right? But you've unfortunately set those pathways down in the brain, and that is your automatic response. And so the question is, Can you change these pathways in the brain? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. Does it take time? Yes, 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 but it absolutely can be done. If we're just going to narrow in on stress today, let's look at what are some things you can do to deal with stress rather than turning to food. The very first thing I want to encourage you is to recognize the feelings you're feeling in that moment, right? Before you jump into any actions, in your case, reaching for food, can you decide for yourself, can you stop, can you ask what's causing the stress? And how can I move away from the mindset of food and stress? Like, how can I really change that pathway in the brain? What other ways can you implement to relieve some of the stress you're feeling? And really check in with yourself often. That is so very important. Why? Because dieting disconnects you from your body, disconnects you from your inner wisdom, disconnects you from hunger, fullness, satisfaction, things that you're feeling. And through the process of learning to be intuitive again, learning to listen to your body, learning to tune in, you'll be able to understand the messages of your body and pick up on those messages and respond in a way that feels right for you. Okay? So shifting from having a diet mentality to becoming an intuitive eater will absolutely help you change the way you look at food. Right? You can choose to eat what you want when you want. That is your birthright. All right? That's what I want to share with you today. By learning to listen to your body, which I recognize might be very challenging at the outset, because if you've been stuck in dieting and disconnected from your body, it will take time to ignite those signals and hear the messages, because the noise out there in diet culture is very loud. And that noise can absolutely impede your ability to hear your own body's messages. But again, it's not impossible. But once you're able to do that and break through all that noise, you will ultimately reduce the amount of stress that you are facing every day with food and how you're responding to everyday normal stress that's in your life, because we all have stress. I haven't yet met anybody that doesn't have any stress. And ultimately, you'll come to a place of feeling at peace. You'll really see, how can I handle stress in a way that is best for me? And I'll go back to what I said earlier. It doesn't mean that sometimes we're not going to use food in certain of these cases. But if food is your number one way to manage any stress that you have in your life, that's when it's destructive. So, would love to hear your thoughts, your experiences. Please share below. Hashtag replay, tag me, I'll come back and comment for you. And just remember, for today only, if you are interested in learning what it is like to work with me, either privately or within one of my coaching programs, so we can get you to a place where you are at peace with food, so that you're no longer in this dieting cycle, so that you are back to being the intuitive eater you were born with, you just need to raise a hand down below under this video. I'll reach out to you and we will set up a call. Normally there's a fee for this call. I'm willing to offer that for free for 24 hours only. All right, that's it for today. Please post comments and I will see you back here next time. Have an amazing rest of your Wednesday.